On behalf of Vincular, I would like to warmly welcome you to today's webinar on IS 302 Part 1 Implementation and Impact of Transition Facilitation QCO. My name is Ishita Joshi, and I'll be your moderator for today's session. We have an insightful session planned with industry experts who will help us understand what this transition means for manufacturers, importers, brands, and compliance professionals. So, without further delay, let's begin. For those joining a Vincula webinar for the first time, let me briefly introduce our organization. Vincular is one of India's leading regulatory compliance consulting companies. Since 2012, we have been helping businesses meet regulatory requirements and achieve compliance with confidence. Our services include regulatory consulting, product approvals, certification support, risk assessment, policy guidance, and compliance management across sectors such as electronics, IT equipment, wireless and telecommunications, medical devices, renewable energy, waste management, and more. The next slide provides an overview of the services offered under the Vincular's umbrella. We will also be sharing the presentation deck and webinar recording with all participants after the session. So, before we begin, let me briefly walk you through today's agenda. We'll start with an overview of the quality control order, its purpose, and the process behind its implementation. Next, we'll discuss the latest regulatory reforms under TFQCO 2026 and the implementation SOP, followed by an overview of IS 302 Part 1 2024 edition, including its scope, key technical updates, and the MC applicability under Clause 19. We'll then cover the BIS certification process, license grant criteria, and the transition from IS 302 Part 1 2008 edition to IS 302 Part 1 2024 edition, along with the grouping criteria for certification and the key takeaways from the standard. Finally, we'll conclude with a live Q&A session where our speakers will address your questions and share practical insights. Till then, you can also submit your questions at any time using the Q&A panel. We'll answer as many as possible during the session, and any remaining questions will be addressed after the webinar. To begin today's session, it is my privilege to introduce our first speaker, Mr. Varghese Joy. We are honored to have him with us today. Mr. Joy is the former Scientist G and Deputy Director General at the Bureau of Indian Standards. With a remarkable career spanning over 37 years, he has made significant contributions to India's certification and conformity assessment ecosystem. His expertise includes product certification, standardization, accreditation, and international compliance frameworks. With that, I would like to expand a warm welcome to Mr. Varghese Joy. The virtual stage is yours, sir. Over to you.
Hi, everyone. Hope you can hear me.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay. Let me start the speech with an introduction to the QCO in India. Quality Control Order, or QCO, in India is a technical regulation. This is issued by Government of India through various ministries. Normally, these are issued against specific products. It can also be issued against services also to control quality and safety by specifying compliance to the Indian standards. Once issued and gazetted, it becomes mandatory for the manufacturers and importers to make the products conform to these regulations. Similar orders or so-called technical regulations are in vogue all over the world. For example, CE marking by European countries or drugs control regulation by USA. In India, The implementation of these orders can be by different institutions. For example, energy labeling is implemented by the Bureau of Energy Efficiency, BE. Because of this, the quality control orders in India oversee the implementation of these regulations. In most of the cases, BIS is the Bureau of Indian Standards is the nodal agency. Let us have a look at the primary reasons or primary criteria for issuing quality control orders in India and how you can participate in the formation of this. First and foremost consideration by Government of India to issue a quality control order is the consumer protection and public safety. For example, products which are harmful to the public safety and health could be considered for issuing a QCO. In this case, like domestic electrical appliances, DEA order, or toys can be classified under this. The next priority for consideration is the environmental protection and national security. Products, by and large, which are harmful to the environment or which can disturb the ecology balance will also come under this category. For example, industrial chemicals, synthetic yarns, fertilizers, battery, all these are being classified under this. Products which affect the infrastructure will come under the national security. For example, structural steel, transformers, heavy machinery, power cables, and cement. Finally, there is one more category, that is to prevent the unfair trade practices in India. When there is a threat to the domestic manufacturers from losing their market share due to the foreign inferior products, then the quality control orders are also issued. I can give you an example of helmets and medical textiles. Next slide. How the quality control order is issued, or how can you participate in this? Normally, the requirement of QCO is primarily identified by the line ministries of Government of India for any one of the reasons or a combination of reasons mentioned above. I have told you the main considerations such as public safety, health, environment, and national security, as well as the unfair trade practices, are mostly the criteria which are considered for issuing the QCOs. Apart from the line ministries, the industry organizations or consumer organizations or public in general can identify a requirement for a legislation in India and inform the line ministry with valid justification and data if possible. Then the line ministries will have a consultation within themselves, and then they will also associate the concerned department, and they can issue an order under the BAS Act, because BAS Act has the provision to issue any such orders by Government of India. The first draft of the QCO may be prepared normally by the line ministry with the association of some of the key organizations connected with that order. Next, these drafts are placed on the public domain through the internet and may elicit comments with a definite time period. Anyone in India or abroad can make a comment with adequate justification. These drafts are also notified through the WTO to the other foreign countries. They can also send the comments. Simultaneously, the ministry will also consultation at various levels. They will have a consultation with the stakeholders in national level, at the international level. Once the deadline is over, the comments are collated, analyzed, and the quality control order is refined and modified. In most of the cases, I have seen in my experience that the revised draft is again circulated to the interested parties in some of the cases for their once again and to verify whether the refined act is in order or not. And again with a definite time period, and once the time period is over, again the comments are collected and draft is finalized. And with the approval of the government, the order is gazetted with a date of introduction and with the name of the implementing agency. Once it is gazetted, the designated implementing authority issues the guidelines for its implementation to all the stakeholders. This is the basic process of formation as well as the issuance of a quality control order in India. Next slide. TFQCO, Transition Facilitation Order 2026. DPIT, Government of India's department, has issued the quality control order on 25th June 2026. 2026. The primary objective of this order is to facilitate transition of manufacturers towards compliance with the applicable standards under the quality control orders without disrupting the supply chains. This is somewhat an alternative, basic alternative to Scheme 1 of the FMCS scheme of Vyas. With this order, the government encourages companies to establish their manufacturing capabilities in India within a definite certain period. Till that time, they will be allowed to import the products with certain conditions. To analyze, give the approval, a committee has been set up called the Implementation Committee, which will evaluate the applicant manufacturing plans, compliance commitments, and the implementation timelines before granting the permission. Of course, for all these time periods have been specified, and the portal is yet to be established. The committee consists of representatives from DPIT, DGFT, BIS, and concerned departments, etc. The approval is intended to be granted for a limited duration, generally a period of 3 years, during which the applicant is expected to establish the manufacturing or the supply chain capabilities in India. This is the primary objective of this particular order. Let us have a look at the overview of this QCO 2026. Next slide. If you look into this order, it is like an umbrella order. It can cover under this any number of quality control orders. Presently, whatever is issued, it covers around 10 quality control orders. For example, we can group it under toys, PPE, personal protective equipment, footwear quality control order, AC, air conditioning and related parts, footwear, domestic electrical appliances. Under this order, around 100 product categories have been covered through the various orders. All these have been under the new orders. Hinges, furnitures, etc. Companies qualifying can apply through the portal only. The portal is yet to be established. Maybe within a short period it will be notified. But there are certain conditions to be met before applying. Maybe we can circulate a copy if required for the better understanding of the participants. And some of them are that it must be a company under the Companies Act 2013. And it can be a greenfield or brownfield manufacturing company, and company can be a operated company by parent company or a stakeholder company. Approval is on receipt of the application. These applications are evaluated by the implementation committee, which I told you, based on the technical capability, compliance track records, and the permission is granted by the Union Minister of Commerce and Industry. And once the permission is granted, there is an annual monitoring and annual submission of returns also. The details can be taken later on from us. Next slide. A basic overview of the primary standard IS 302-1. Understanding this standard IS 302-1 would ease the process of implementation or changeover. That's why I thought I'll speak about this little bit. IS 302 was originally published in the year 1979 by India, by the Bureau of Indian Standards. The first QC order based on this was issued somewhere in 1989. I was lucky to be associated with the implementation of the QCO right from that time onwards. The primary requirement of at that point of time was the declaration of conformity to the standard. Later, the standard got updated many times. Its standard is modified many times, and later BIS published various product-specific standards and started safety certification. And today, I believe BIS has issued more than 32 parts to the IS 302, Part 2. That's all specific product standard, while IS 302 Part 1 remains at the general product requirements. Today, the QCO has been issued for 302-1, and which can be classified under 4 categories: products for kitchen and food processing, products for personal care and hygiene, products used for home cleaning and air purifying, products of DC and battery operated items. For example, products for kitchen and food processing, this will cover food processors, blenders, juices, electric kettles, coffee makers, dishwashers, microwave ovens, hot plates, grinders, deep fryers, etc. Whereas products for personal care and hygiene, this category would cover hair dryers, shavers, trimmers, electric toothbrushes, oral hygiene appliances, massage devices, skin beauty appliances, and optical laser skin care products, etc. Product used for home climate and cleaning would cover vacuum cleaners, floor cleaning machines, room heaters, humidifiers, air purifiers, immersion water heaters, and fabric steamers. And while the last category, the DC and battery operated items, can cover cordless vacuum cleaners, rechargeable trimmers, battery operated toothbrushes, portable DC juices, and handheld DC air purifiers, etc. The IS 302 2024 structurally aligned with the IEC 60335 Part 1 2020, but it is not a one-to-one carbon copy. To sell any products in India, manufacturers must account not only for the IEC standard, but also for the national deviations. Then only it will comply with the IS 302 Part 1 2024 version. The national deviations include safety charging protocols, mandatory cybersecurity provisions, revamped software evaluations, extra low voltage, then the voltage range, plex and codes, ambient test temperature, and languages, etc. will be covered under the national deviations. This provision has been already existing in the Bureau of Indian Standards Act. While specifying the implementation time, for the first time, I understand that a staggered timeline. The next slide, please. The staggered timeline has been specified by the Government of India. In this, the advantage has been given for MSME and small enterprises as well as for the micro enterprises. While for the large and medium enterprises, the enforcement date remains as October 1st, 2026. 3 months time extra has been given for small scale enterprises, that is the MSME enterprises, that for them the implementation will start from 1st January 2027. While for micro enterprises, the implementation date starts from 1st April 2027. More details will be followed in the following sessions, and I hope the introduction should be useful to you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your valuable insights with us today. We sincerely appreciate your time, expertise, and the wealth of knowledge you have shared. It is now my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Bal Mukund Vyas. Mr. Vyas is a seasoned techno-commercial leader with over 35 years of experience in the testing, inspection, and certification industry. He currently serves as the Chief Scientific Officer at Yadav Measurements and is an impaneled NABL Lead Assessor. His expertise spans product safety, AMI EMC testing, accreditation, and standards development. In this session, Mr. Vyas will take us through the technical aspects and practical considerations of the topic. Over to you, Mr. Vyas.
Good morning, everybody. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Thanks, Isita. Uh, I would like to thank Vincular for giving me this opportunity to talk about this standard and the technical aspects. And I will talk about IS 302 Part 1, which has been published by ETD 32, Electrotechnical Division Sectional Committee on Electrical Appliances. With this publication, the IS 302-1 2008 stands withdrawn. And it is important to know that this IS 302-1 2024 is identical to IC 60335-1 2020. I will talk about only some of the important changes and important clauses which are very important to know for all industry stakeholders. Now, this is standard. First, to talk about the standards coverage. So please go to the next slide. Right. It is important to know about the coverage of this standard. And the standard covers safety aspect for household and similar appliances with rated voltage up to 250 volt for single phase and 480 volt for others, including DC and battery operated devices. Remember, this is the only rated voltage, not the maximum voltage. So actual maximum voltage of operating maximum voltage of these devices can be slightly higher. Other than household, it also covers equipments used in shops, light industry, for example, vacuum cleaner, floor treatment machines, or farms like electric haze cutters, etc. Now, reasonable, foreseeable misuse by a normal person is considered for safety aspect. Okay, but however, following things are excluded. For example, a person with inadequate knowledge about use and skill. So it is important that the operating manuals are very well cover the instructions to use the equipments. If a person is poor in sense of physical, sensory, or mental capability, these things are not covered in the standards. And children playing with these appliances are also not covered in this standard. IS 302-1 does not apply to industrial appliances. So it is important to differentiate. It does not apply to industrial appliances, appliances used in special hazardous equipments, IT, audio, video, medical equipments, and handheld transportable motor operated electrical tools. For these devices, appliances, the other standards exist. For example, for medical equipment, IEC 60601 exists. For IT, audio, video equipment, IEC 62368 exists. So it is important to differentiate that what is covered in this standard and what is covered by other standards. Next slide, please. Now I will get into a bit more detail some of the clauses in this standard. So I'll start with the first clause, the new clause I-12, which specified the safety aspect of charging metal ion batteries. Nowadays, use of batteries is very common, and metal ion batteries examples are lithium, zinc, sodium, potassium. All these are metal ion batteries, and it is important to from the safety aspect that you do not exceed the operating region of the charging of these batteries because it causes the safety hazard. For example, when a battery is charged beyond its safe voltage limit or is charged at very fast rate, it can generate excess heat, and which can cause fire, thermal runaway, explosion. It can cause short circuit, internal chemical reactions may become unstable, and so on. Now, for each cell, the specified operating region for charging specified by the cell manufacturer shall not be exceeded at the temperature of the specified cell. Similarly, for batteries where cells are configured in series, the test is repeated as per this clause with the charge in one battery deliberately imbalanced. And the imbalance is introduced into a battery that is fully discharged by charging one cell to approximately 50% of being fully charged. So this is about metal ion batteries. Another clause is clause 24, which specifies the safety requirements for components that are incorporated into household and similar electrical appliances, because the components plays very important role in safety of the equipments and the safety of the person using this. Okay, examples of these components are switches, relays, capacitors, power supplies, thermal cutouts, motors, and so on. A component complying with the specific on IEC standard is generally considered acceptable when it is used within its specified ratings, its application does not exceed the conditions covered by component standard, its use does not create additional hazard in the appliances. Particular attention is required for components that provide protection against electric shock, fire, excessive temperature, or mechanical hazards. Failure of such components shall not lead to any unsafe conditions. Typical safety critical components includes thermal fuses, protective relays, safety transformers, suppression capacitors like XY capacitors, and electronic protective circuits. Another very important clause which is in new standard is clause 10 of IS 302-1, which is for verifying the actual power input and current consumption of the appliances. And this clause ensures that proper sizing of conductors and protective devices, prevention of overheating due to excessive current, safe operation under normal use condition, correct appliances marking, and consumer information so that it consumes the power as specified by the manufacturer. Now, in order to improve consistent application of standards requirement, an informative annexure has been given, which is given in Annexure S. And the reason for this is that nowadays many appliances use inverters, electronic controls, cycling heaters, pulse width modulation motor drives, adaptive energy management systems. Now, these modern techniques actually creates a variable use of power consumptions. So it is important that how to decide the arithmetic mean value of the power consumption. So this annexure gives guidance on that when the consumption of the appliances is varying under different situations, different usage, then how to decide the correct arithmetic mean value, and a flow chart has been given in the this annexure to actually consistently apply the this requirement of this particular clause correctly, so that there is no variability from one lab to another lab, right? Another very important clause, because nowadays many equipments use software. So Annexure R provides guidance and requirement for assessment of software used in electronic control system that perform safety related functions. So it is important that this clause is related to safety related functions of the software, not a general performance related software, right? A software error can potentially disable over temperature protections, prevent motor shutdown, causes unintended heating, defeat protective function, and can create the safety aspect of the appliances. So Annexure R focuses on demonstrating that the software development process and system architecture of the software are robust enough to maintain safety. And so it is important that the software itself is reviewed to ensure that it is fault tolerant. There is proper error detection system. The safe state behavior is properly defined, and it is verified and validated for the safety aspect. Annexure R encourages mechanisms such as watchdog timers, memory checks, communication checks, data integrity monitoring, processor self-diagnostic features, and these measures help identify software or hardware malfunctions before they can create safety hazard. Another very important clause is given in Annexure U, which is normative. And Annexure U is basically for appliances intended for remote communication through public networks. Nowadays, there are many appliances, modern appliances, which are online connected through internet or Wi-Fi. For example, washing machine, refrigerators, air conditioners, water heater, smart cooking appliances, or HVAC products. This annexure is linked to clause 22.62, which introduces requirement concerning remote communication, unauthorized access, safety-related software protections. Annexure U provides detailed method and requirement used to demonstrate these compliances. With the emergence of IoT-enabled appliances, a cybersecurity attack can potentially impact product safety. For example, remote disabling of safety functions, unauthorized modification of operating parameters, malicious firmware upgrades, manipulation of temperature, speed, pressure, or protective controls. Annexure U introduces requirements to prevent such cybersecurity events from creating unsafe conditions. Manufacturers must demonstrate that unauthorized parties cannot impair safety-related functions. Annexure U specifically introduces the use of cryptographic techniques to protect communication and software transfer through encryption, authentication certificates, security key management, message integrity checks, and so on. The cryptography selected must be adequate to prevent safety impairment through cyber attacks. Next clause, please. Next slide. Right, now I will talk about clause 19, which is for electromagnetic compatibility. So this clause actually defines that how the appliances should be suitable from the point of view of electromagnetic compatibility, and they should not create safety hazard. Remember, this standard does not require full EMC compliance testing, which is covered by standards such as IC 55014, IC 55014-2, or IC 61000 series. Instead, clause 19 requires verification that electromagnetic disturbances do not impair safety-related functions. Now, clause 19.11.4 says that this is applicable for appliances having a device with an off position obtained by electronic disconnections. So a simple device with on-off from the power switch is not, for that type of appliances, this clause is not applicable. Or a device that can be placed in the standby mode are subjected to tests. There are various tests I will describe related to EMI/EMC. The tests are carried out with appliances supplied at rated voltage and device being set in off position or in standby mode. Because this EMI/EMC is applicable for appliances which use microcontrollers, electronic motor controls, inverters, touch control devices, smart or connected control, software-based safety functions. All these requirements actually requires that the EMI/EMC is tested. IS 302-1 includes evaluation of electronic control under EMC stress conditions, and the tests which are described in this clause are electrostatic discharge, electromagnetic high-frequency field immunity, electrical fast transients, high-energy surges, conducted RF susceptibility, voltage dips and interruption, immunity to harmonics and interharmonics. For example, electrostatic discharge application should not cause safety function remains operational. Unsafe outputs are activated. Appliances recover safely. So this is very important, and this is similar for all the tests. So this EMI/EMC testing covers immunity requirements. It does not cover the emission requirement. in IS 302-1. So I think this is all from my side, Isita. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your insightful presentation and for sharing your valuable expertise with us. Now, to continue our session, I would like to invite Mr. Girdhar Quira to share his insights. Mr. Quira is a regulatory compliance professional with over 5 years of experience in regulatory compliance, product certification, and quality assurance across diverse engineering sectors in India. He has worked closely with manufacturers and brands, guiding them through certification requirements and evolving regulatory changes. Today, he will share practical insights on the process overview of IS 302 Part 1 and the impact of TFQCO. Over to you, Mr. Quira.
Thanks, Ishika. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. So today we are going to talk about IS 302 Part 1. This covered the safety requirement for household and similar electrical appliances. Now, if you are manufacturing electrical appliances for the Indian market, this one standard you really need to know. We'll cover the following things here. How the certification process works, what need to look before applying for a license, the move from old 2008 standard to the new 2024, how similar product can be grouped together for testing, and few important exception and rule under the new 2024 order, impact of the TFQCO. Next slide, please. So start with the process itself. How does a product actually get certified? See, before any appliances can carry the BIS ISI mark and enter the India market, it has to go through a proper process. And it's like a checklist where one step must be done and only then you move to the next steps. So here are the steps. Prepare the application. The manufacturer gathers all the technical documents and product detail needed to apply. File the application. Once the paperwork is ready, it is submitted to the BIS portal. Factory inspection, BIS official visit in person to check the manufacturing setup and quality control system. Product testing, the product is sent to BIS approved lab for independent testing to confirm it's meet all the safety requirements. License granted. If the documents, factory inspection, and test result all check out, BIS grant the license. Only then can manufacturer put the ISI mark on the product. So in short, prepare, file, inspect, test, and get license. Each step is a checkpoint to make sure only the safe product reach to the market. Next slide, please. Now, see what manufacturer need to check before applying for a license as per IS 302 Part 1. First, an important point to understand, if an appliance is already covered under some other quality control order, it will not be covered again under this one. So there is no double coverage. For example, hair dryer are already covered under their own QCO, that is IS 302 Part 2, Section 23. So hair dryer don't need a separate certification under IS 302 Part 1 again. Beyond that, for product categories where a separate QCO has not been released yet, then the licensing part depends on whether a matching IS 302 Part 2 series standard exists for that product. So for that, first case is that if application is made under IS 302 Part 1 and a matching Part 2 standard exists for that product, then the product has to meet both standards. It must follow the IS 302 Part 1 general standard and also the specific part IS 302 series clause for that product. Only when both are satisfied, then the license will be granted. Second case, if the application is made under IS 302 Part 1, but no matching Part 2 standard exists, then the product need to meet the IS 302 Part 1, and on that basis, license will be granted. So basically, the combination of base standard and which product specific standard apply decide exactly what manufacturer need to comply with. Next slide, please. So this slide explains how the switchover from old standard to the new one is being handled. Here's the background. The old standard IS 302 Part 1 2008 6th revision will be replaced by IS 302 Part 1 2024 7th revision. So the 2024 version is simply the next revision of 2008. Here's the key thing to remember right now. Both versions are valid at the same time. This is called concurrent running period. It gives manufacturer time to switch over smoothly. This period is run until 23rd Feb 2027. In more simplified term, if we can say, if we are currently hold a license under 2008 standard, and we have until period 23rd Feb 2027 to move our certification to the new 2024 version. After that date, the old 2008 standard will no longer be valid, and only the 2024 version will be valid. Next slide, please. Now, something very practical for the manufacturer who makes similar models. This is called series grouping. Instead of testing every model separately, Vyas let you group similar product together and test them as one series, but only if they meet a certain condition. Here, what those are. Product type. Different product type can't be grouped together. For example, vacuum cleaner and trimmers can't be in the same group, even from the same manufacturer, as they are different product. Type of power supply. Appliances with different power supply can't be grouped either. A single phase AC model can't be grouped with a DC model or a battery operated model, and so on. So power supply type has to match across the whole group. Extra features. If the tested model don't cover every feature available in the range, then the model with those extra features needed to be tested separately too. Look and color. Changing the color or appearance does not count as a new model, so a color variant doesn't need to be tested separately. Insulation class. If a higher insulation class has been tested, other model in the group with lower class are automatically covered, so no separate test needed. Degree of protection. If a higher protection level has been tested, then the model with a lower protection level in the group are covered too. So to sum up, series grouping cut down on repeat testing, but it is strict about product type and power supply, while being flexible on color, insulation, and protection level. Next slide. Few important exceptions and rules under the new order that often get missed. So what are they? First, research and development exemption. Manufacturer can import up to 200 units per year for R&D purpose without needing certification. But there are conditions. These units can't be sold commercially and they can only be disposed of. The manufacturer has to keep a year-wise record of this unit and produce it when it asked by the department. When an audit is required, an audit is specifically required for a new product category or new assembly line being added, which is different from what was originally certified. Routine testing. Manufacturer must meet a routine testing facility at the production line as per IS 302 Part 1 for quality control of the product. And currently, BIS offer a relaxation for in-house lab by allowing manufacturer to subcontract their test to either a Vyas impaneled lab or ISO/IEC 17025 accredited lab. Grace period for existing stock. If goods were made or imported before the official implementation date and the manufacturer is already certified or has already applied for the certification, then they can still sell or display the existing stock for up to 6 months after the implementation date. The condition is here that the manufacturer must formally declare this to the BIS. So the above points cover who's exempted and under what condition and how existing stock is handled during the transition and when an audit is needed and routine in-house test requirement. Next slide, please. Let me quickly explain the impact of TF QCO 2026, which was issued by the DPIIT. So here in this, there is faster compliance and market entry. Under this framework, product must be registered through Scheme 2. So as this registration scheme does not require the factory inspection, hence the overall process is significantly faster. It gives company time to build their supply chain in India. If a company want to set up local manufacturing, either on its own or through a contract manufacturer, it's get a proper transition period to do that. It is not expected to have everything ready on day one. It can be built by step or year by year. This scheme generally support technology transfer and localization. The whole idea behind this scheme is to encourage company to bring in technology, design capability, and R&D into India, not just to import finished good, but actually build something long-term here. So in short, TFQCO help bring new technology into India faster, but without lowering standard or quality standard. It support growth along with the strong checks. So that's the wrap up of today's session. Happy to take any question now.
Thank you, Mr. Quira, for your insightful presentation and for sharing your valuable perspectives with us. Thank you to all our speakers for their informative and insightful presentations. With that, we have come to the final segment of today's webinar, the live Q&A session. We have received several excellent questions from our participants, and we will ask our speakers to address these questions. So let's begin. Our first question is, does IS 302 Part 1 2024 edition replace product-specific standards? So for this question, I would like to invite Mr. Vyas to share his insights.
Yeah, Ishita, thanks. I think this was very much clarified by Mr. Girdhar. IS 302 Part 1 contains general safety requirements and must be used together with the applicable product-specific Part 2 standard if it exists. And if it does not exist, then the Part 1 is applicable.
Thank you, sir, for your explanation. Let's move on to the next question. The question is, which model should be selected for testing in a product series? So for this question, I would like to invite Mr. Quira to share his insights.
Thanks, Ishita. So we have discussed this part in the above mentioned slide. So when we evaluating safety, we should select the model that poses greater potential risk. Typically, this is a model featuring. So the highest and lowest configuration product as per IS 302 Part 1, the maximum number of feature and the most complex construction needed to be selected for testing in a product series.
Thank you, Mr. Quira, for your explanation. Now let's move on to the next question. So the question is, can manufacturers continue using IS 302 Part 1 2008 edition? So for this question, I would like to invite Mr. Vyas to share his insights.
I think this 2008 version remains valid only until 23rd February 2027. So manufacturers have a transition period until then. Manufacturer can continue using this 2008 version until this transition period is there, which is also called concurrent period for these standards. After 23rd February 2027, it is mandatory to switch over to the 2024 version.
Thank you, sir, for your detailed explanation. Now let's move on to the next question. So our next question is BIS ISI certification for vacuum cleaners mandatory under IS 302 Part 2, Section 2, given that the QCO for this product has not yet been notified? So for this question, I would like to ask Mr. Quira to share his insights.
Yes, it is required to take mandatory certification for the vacuum cleaner. However, need to take as per IS 302 Part 1. And the test for this standard needed to be conducted as per IS 302 Part 1 and the applicable clause of IS 302 Part 2, Section 2.
Thank you, Mr. Quira, for your explanation. Now let's move on to the next question. And the question is, does IS 302 Part 1 specify the complete EMC testing requirements? So for this question, I would like to invite Mr. Vyas. Sir, please.
This question actually, complete EMI-EMC is something which needs to be well defined. There are many EMI-EMC standards. And as I covered in my talk, first thing is it covers only immunity requirement, not the emission requirement. EMI-EMC consists of both emission and immunity, but it does not cover the emission requirement because this standard is only for safety aspects. And from the safety aspect, it is only immunity requirements. And the standards or the tests which are covered are examples are electrostatic discharge, fast transients, high energy surges, conducted RF immunity. So these are some of the tests or some of the standard EMI-EMC tests which are covered.
Thank you, sir, for your explanation. It was really helpful. As we are mindful of time, we will now conclude the Q&A session. If your question could not be addressed during today's live webinar, please don't worry. Our team has carefully noted all the unanswered questions and will share the responses with you via email after the webinar. So before we conclude today's session, we'd like to take a moment to share why organizations across industries choose Vincular as their trusted compliance partner. At Vincular, we provide end-to-end support throughout the testing and certification journey, from understanding regulatory requirements and preparing applications to coordinating product testing and obtaining the final certification. Our experienced team works closely with regulatory authorities, accredited laboratories, and industry stakeholders to help businesses meet compliance requirements efficiently while minimizing delays and streamlining the certification process. By managing timelines, coordinating with all stakeholders, and handling the certification journey from start to finish, we simplify what can often be a complex and time-consuming process. Our goal is to make compliance simple, efficient, and predictable, enabling our customers to focus on growing their business with confidence. As we come to the end of today's webinar, on behalf of the entire Vincular team, I would like to extend our heartfelt thanks to all our esteemed speakers for sharing their valuable knowledge and insights. We also sincerely thank each of our participants for taking the time to join us and for your active engagement throughout the session. We truly appreciate your trust in Vincular and hope you found today's webinar insightful and beneficial. Thank you once again for being with us. We look forward to welcoming you to our future webinars and continuing to support your compliance journey. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe, stay compliant. Goodbye.